I know that God holds people, supposedly Christians, that are supposed to walk in faith and, try to be more like him. He holds them to a higher standard.
The best role in society for Christians that think abortion is wrong to play is to advocate for social reform to reduce the amount of abortions that women have by addressing the reasons why women get abortions in the first place. 55% of women and girls that get abortions indicate it's because of financial instability. So your goal should be to go out there and make sure that women and girls, new families, are financially stable. You will see a material consequence of less abortions. Will, take it away. Why do you support Trump?
I support Trump, just because I do agree with a lot of the policies and stuff that he's, invoking into our economy and everything. I agree with what he's doing with the border and stuff. I really think it's wrong for, people that are, considered illegal aliens to be able to come into our country and, just basically try to take over people's land.
Okay, listen.
No, hold on. Before we start this, man, I don't want to, down you or anything like that. I think what you're doing is great, for some other people. I am super excited to be able to get to talk to you, considering our differences.
Awesome.
So just wanted to say that.
So I'll throw this out there. I think policy to reduce undocumented entry into America can be very good if it's designed right. And I'll tell you what that looks like from my perspective later. But before I tell you what that looks like from my perspective, we need to ensure that the policy Donald Trump has implemented to reduce undocumented entry is designed right. So let me ask you, what has he done to reduce undocumented entry into this country?
Well, I mean, he's making it harder for people to come into here, and
how so?
As far I don't really know too much about that, but I will tell you that I agree with the whole if people aren't supposed to be here. There's people that have waited in line and they'll go the legal route to come in here, and they wait there they wait in line or do whatever process they
before we move on to that. I very specifically want to talk about what Trump has done to slow undocumented entry.
Now, I think, isn't he making it hard for, the Border Patrol? Isn't it more? I agree with the border, too,
He's not really doing anything specific with Border Patrol except for talking about them more. But like the Biden-Harris administration funded them almost twice as much as Trump during his first term. Not a big difference. Now, we have seen a sharp reduction in undocumented entry into this country. And I think it's because of the treatment of undocumented immigrants that are in the country. Think about it, okay? You're an immigrant. You want to go into America for a better life. You realize that the legal means are just simply unattainable, so you do it illegally because you want a better life. But imagine you're in that position of being an immigrant, and then you see individuals that have done it illegally being beaten, tortured, and CCOT for a month, okay? Even those that have done it illegally, being kept in ICE detention centers for 3 months, or being accidentally deported to CCOT in El Salvador where they're assayed. Okay? You see the human rights and dignity of these people stripped away. Donald Trump is deporting them without due process. Okay? Corralling immigrants in alligator Alcatraz, where they're served one meal a day, some of those meals with maggots in them. Okay? That is almost certainly promising you a worse life. So they no longer have the incentive for the immigration in the first place because they're no longer expecting a better life. And that's why we've seen such a sharp and noticeable reduction in undocumented entry. Point number one, this is very bad because it literally hinges on human rights abuse. Point number two, it's also bad because it's short term. The moment that we don't have a fascist running the country, we're hopefully no longer going to be violating the human and constitutional rights of immigrants.
Right. Why would you want somebody to come in, come into the country? You pay taxes, I'm sure.
Right.
And take advantage of the stuff that we pay taxes for. And when, it's not really fair to the rest of the people who are taxable.
Big time fake news. They actually don't even receive federal benefits that are paid for by the taxpayer, yet they are still obligated to pay taxes. Undocumented immigrants pay $100 billion per year in taxes, and they don't qualify for federal Section 8, federal food stamps, federal EBT, federal Medicaid, Medicare, federal Social Security. They don't qualify for any of those things. So they kind of subsidize citizens. Think about it. They pay so many billions of dollars in taxes per year. They don't receive any federal benefits. Whose benefits are they paying for? Citizens.
Right. So, kind of off topic for what we were talking about, but what one of Trump's policies do you not agree with?
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, how about we just stay on the topic of mass deportation? I hate mass
Okay.
deportation. I think it's terrible. It destroys our country. Undocumented immigrants contribute to our economy. They work, they make money, they buy goods, and they
Oh
pay
no,
taxes.
they do. No, they do
Right?
for sure. You know, and I'm
Undocumented
a
immigrants,
roofer.
according to the Center on American Progress, if all of them were removed tomorrow, our GDP would go down by 1.1 trillion through 1.7 trillion dollars. Right? That's a huge hit to America, and it makes you question, why is the growth rate of the American GDP already below expectations? So far this year, we're on track for a 1%, 1.6% level of growth in the American GDP. Historically, it's been like over 3% per year. So why is it lower now? Maybe in part is because of the mass deportation. I mean, what do you think forcefully laying off 8.3 million of our workers is going to do for an economy? What do you think it's going to? What do you think is going to happen when they're now forced out of the market, so they can't make money here and they can't spend money here, they can't pay taxes here, and we're spending $2 trillion over the next 10 years to get it done? It is terrible for the economy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can see that. I can see that. You know, I'm in roofing, so I'm in roofing sales. So I'm not like a roofing laborer, but I have been to, and it's funny because I live around DC as well, and I've pulled up to jobs, and like there's been workers that have, you know, not been there, or they didn't want to show up because they're scared of, you know, being deported. So I can see that just
There you
because
go.
I see that firsthand for sure. Well, if you could sway me, which I don't know if you, I mean, I've just grown up. I've been, you know, my parents were conservative Republican. All my friends, I live, you know, in kind of the
I was
country.
conservative until I was 16. I remember I used to always argue with my liberal friends back in the day. I get it. What do you want me to sway you on?
Okay, now one big topic I've always been questionable about is like, you know, abortion and stuff like that. And I really do think, just because I'm Christian too, and I know that the Bible, you know, it says, I don't know if it doesn't exactly say that, you know, it doesn't speak about abortion itself, but you know, I know that you know, in terms of being Christianity and pro-life and stuff like that, I know that like abortion's like wrong, but then I also know that like, so I can agree with like if a girl is raped, and I don't know if that makes me like, you know, I don't know if I can even say I'm pro-life, if I agree with, you know, abortion if the girl was raped, or if it's something that would make
still pro-life.
the woman die, or, you know, something like that.
I have a smile on my face. I smiled as soon as you told me that you thought abortion should be illegal in elective circumstances because you're Christian. Can I tell you why that made me smile so much?
Why?
Because pro-life Christians are the easiest to convince to be pro-choice. I'll tell you why. Basically, at the end of the day, your legal view, not your moral view, your legal view is that abortion should be illegal because it's a sin, right? All right. Are you Catholic? Are you Orthodox? Or are you non-denominational Protestant Reformed?
I'm more Baptist.
Baptist. Okay. So you focus on a personal relationship with Jesus. So you just read the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? Perfect. Can we agree that when we read the gospel, we read the New Testament, we read the writings of God, we learn that sin is wrong, sin detaches us from God, and all sins fall short of the glory of Him. And we're not really given any clear framework to determine if one sin is any worse than any other. That leads us to a really tricky problem, legally speaking, because if you tell us that the sin of abortion should be illegal because it's a sin, who's to say, following your logic, that the sin of lying to your child and telling them that Santa Claus exists should be illegal because it's a sin, or shouldn't be illegal because it's a sin?
Yeah, but isn't that a little? It is. I mean, yes, that is like a white. You know, it's like a white lie, and it is kind of still lying. But isn't that, you know, big stretch between, you know, abortion and lying to them about Santa Claus or something else? Just that small.
It seems like a big stretch intuitively, right? Obviously, intuitively in our brains it does, but not in the eyes of the gospel, not in the eyes of God. You know, and like in Christianity, it's the eyes of God that's a perfect moral standard. And what does the scripture tell us about sin in relation to God? It just tells us that all sins fall short of His glory outside of blasphemy. And a lot of like Christians take away the conclusion that all sin is equal in the eyes of God outside of blasphemy. It all detaches you from a relationship with our Creator, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'd be able to give me any argument rooted in scripture that the sin of abortion is any worse than the sin of lying?
Yeah, biblically, no. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because we don't have an argument that yields the conclusion that the sin of abortion is any worse than the sin of lying in the eyes of God, which is your moral standard. According to your moral standard, if the sin of abortion should be illegal because it's wrong, and we can attribute that same level of wrongness to the sin of lying, would you therefore also say that the sin of lying should be illegal?
Well, I think lying to people and deterring them from something is I don't know if it should be illegal. I know that it is. Isn't it one of the 10 commandments though? It doesn't specifically say something about lying, but something that's almost just like lying.
Yeah, lying violates the 10 commandments, and you're telling me it should be legal. So if I could violate the 10 commandments and lying to my child telling them that Santa Claus exists, if I could violate the teachings of the gospel and lying to my child telling them that Santa Claus exists, and you think that should be legal, what argument could you possibly fucking have that abortion specifically should be illegal?
I just think, the only argument I can think of, man, is I really think that every child, should have a right to live. And that brings me back to, I think that if it is something that might kill the mother, then,
I hate to interrupt you. I'm just putting you on pause real quick, because now you're giving me an argument that operates outside of your Bible, which is fine. I just want you to be able to acknowledge that. And now I'm going to give you the mic and the floor to give me an argument that abortion is morally wrong without referencing your standard of morality. you know? And it's like, this is why at the end of the day, if you're truly a Christian, you should just say that abortion is wrong, but I'm still yet going to say that it should be legal so everybody can make that decision for themselves. Because one, not everybody is Christian. Two, we shouldn't live in a Christian theology. The only way to have freedom of religion is for all religions to be practiced freely. And three, it begs into question the logical problems I described about how you can't clearly discern that one sin is any worse than any other. So if you're going to legislate on one sin, you must legislate on all sins, and you're not willing to ban telling your children that Santa Claus exists. And four, there's been a lot of really big historical issues with using the Christian Bible to infringe on what other people can or can't do. The most notorious of them would probably be chattel slavery in the American South.
Yeah. Oh, I think anyone who claims to be a Christian or Christianity, anything like that, and who knows about the Bible, I would say that, let's say I might not be able to say that every sin could be different and hold a different weight, but I know that God holds people that are, supposedly Christians that are supposed to walk in faith and, try to be more like him. He holds them to a higher standard. So the people that are Christians and pro-lifers out there, I believe that he would hold them to a higher standard.
Okay, hold yourself to that standard, please. I'm telling you. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't hold yourself to that standard. Will, if you say right now that you think that abortion is wrong, and for that reason you're never going to get an abortion, I will look at you and I'll say, that's A-okay, Will, you got it.
Yeah, and I'm also not the type to judge anybody for doing what they do. I just turned 23 and I've got a whole bunch I've got like a boat business going on. And like I said, I'm in roofing sales. My buddy owns, I'm surrounded by people who are, successful and stuff like that. So I'm definitely, and I'm also not a judgy person that, I have friends that are, low key losers and I try to, help them out. So I'm not a judgy person. And if someone wanted to get an abortion, that's on them.
Okay. Well, you just said something that pro-choicers say. You just said if somebody wants to get an abortion, that's on them. It's on their choice. So now you're not pro-life.
Yeah, well, that's why I came on here at first and said I don't know really what to say because, I'd like to say I'm pro-life. And for me and for everyone I'm surrounded, I would tell them, hey, I don't think you should get an abortion. If you really can't raise this child, I'll help you.
Can I give you some advice?
What?
The best role in society for Christians that think abortion is wrong to play is as follows. And this is actually very productive. I think that this is a perfect role for you in society, is to advocate for social reform to reduce the amount of abortions that women have by addressing the reasons why women get abortions in the first place. 55% of women and girls that get abortions indicate it's because of financial instability. So your goal should be to go out there and make sure that women and girls, new families, are financially stable. You will see a material consequence of less abortions. Another reason why women and girls advocate that they get abortions is because if they were to start a family, then they'd go into poverty. Not financial instability that they're experiencing right now, but financial instability they will experience in the future. And this makes sense. The main cause of poverty in women is having children. So go out there and advocate for social reform and legislation to provide as many resources as humanly possible to new families, right? Make sure that mothers have time off of work when they're pregnant and raising the child. Make sure that child care services such as daycare are free to everybody. Make sure that there's super awesome, like awesome tax incentives for married couples, families with children, like child tax credit increases. Make sure that, you know, families are never going to struggle to put food on the table, meeting the bare minimum of SNAP. Make sure that, you know, if there's a mother and a father that have a child that's running on the playground and breaks their leg, that they could take them to the hospital and not have a bill that's $100,000. Universal health care. See, these are all solutions to dramatically reduce the amount of women that get abortions. And at the end of the day, you're still just going to have a lot of people that get abortions because they are sexually active and they don't want to have a kid regardless of their financial stability. I think that's perfectly fine and valid. And that's when you then turn around and you contradict what the GOP has been spewing about taking sex ed out of school and making sure that contraceptives aren't free and immediately available to our youth by saying that we should be telling kids exactly what sex is and what it leads to at an age-appropriate level throughout middle school and high school, while also offering free access to contraceptives and preventative techniques so pregnancy doesn't even occur in the first place. I mean, I feel like if all Christians in America unionized around these simple concepts, you guys hold so much societal power. Every president we've ever had is a Christian. 81% of Congress is Christian. Majority of Americans are Christian. Y'all would be able to get it done in like one term of Congress in 2 years worth of a presidency max. And the impact that we would materially see on the amount of abortions that women have would be dramatic. And guess what? Every single woman and girl in America would be thanking you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, that would be awesome, you know, for anyone to do. Yeah, you know, a little backstory on me. I don't know if you have time for this, but I had a kid when I was in, not even joking. I was 15 years old, 16 when he was born. And, you know, I knew that I probably wasn't financially able to do it. And for me anyway, I kind of just manned up and got a job. Well, I already had a job, but I got a better job and I was like, look, because her whole family wanted to abort it. And I was like, I don't really know. Like, I don't want to do that. It kind of goes against what I stand for. We'll take care of it. We'll do this, you know. And regardless of me and her not working out, it still gave that kid, you know, a chance at life. And I you know, I'm paying child support and everything. So I think that was awesome.
I will never endorse that statement. It is not awesome that 15-year-old girls are having babies.
Well, no, that wasn't awesome. But for me, it's awesome, you know, that it's a little kid now. He's like 6 years old now, and he's got a chance at life and to grow up healthy.
Okay. I'm not so sure if that serves any relevance on the last comments that I made. Poor woman, poor girl at the time. I really hope that she wasn't driven to keep that baby because of your impact. I really hope that's not the case, and it sounds like it is. That's so sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was also her sister's too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, she just ended up having it. But you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a live and you learn thing. For me, honestly, I figured if we were gonna have a kid, we messed up. I mean, she was older than me, so I was the young one in this situation. But I figured, you know, if we made that.
Would you say at the end of the day that your argument is that women should lose access to abortion because it'll save the lives of more children?
I don't think that every woman should. Like I said before, I do believe in like the threes.
And for all intents and purposes, we're talking about elective circumstances. So in elective circumstances, should women lose access to abortion because it'll save the lives of more children?
Yeah. If I could do it, if I could stop abortions, then
I just want a yes or no. Is that your argument? That women should lose access to abortion because it'll save the lives of more children? I mean, I was expecting like a really like quick and easy yes.
I know, but I do believe in the three, so it makes me hard to answer.
No, ignore those. I agree. They should all have access. We're ignoring like circumstances of rape, incest, and life of the mother. We're not talking about them. We're talking about only elective circumstances. We've agreed that rape victims of incest and life of the mother should have legal access to abortion. We are now setting that aside because we agree. There's no debate there. Okay? The debate is about elective circumstances. Should women lose access to abortion in elective circumstances, excluding those three cases, because it'll save the lives of more children?
Yes, I think that women that are readily able to be a mother and that can financially support their kid, I think that they probably should take away, they shouldn't
Okay,
have
so
that
they
option.
so they should lose access to abortion because it'll save the lives of more children. I have a question. In America, what is a leading cause of death in children that are born?
Hmm. I hope it's not starvation,
No, it's
but
guns. So in the
oh,
same way that you're telling us that women should lose access to abortion because it'll save the lives of more children, would you also be okay with accepting that men should lose the right to own guns because it'll save the lives of more children? We know that's the empirical outcome. We have research from Everytown Gun Research that shows us the more gun control that a state or a country has, the less gun deaths per capita. Even in America, Everytown Research has a whole page on their website where they compare the amount of gun control and regulation that a state has to how much gun deaths they have per 100,000 residents, and it goes down the more regulation that they have. And even in a country like UK, their gun deaths are significantly lower than ours, and they don't have the right to own any gun at all. And like typically the response is, well, they have more like knife violence. No, actually the US has higher rates of knife violence than they do. So I just like, would you say at the end of the day, because we know that gun control, we know that taking away people's guns would save the lives of more kids. In order to stay consistent in your line of reasoning, would you be okay with men losing the right to own a gun, given that it would save the lives of more children?
no, actually, I strongly disagree. I am strong on the Second Amendment.
Is it because you value your personal rights, liberties, and freedoms?
Yeah.
What's more
Yeah, I do.
personal? What's more personal? I have a question. What's more personal? A piece of metal in your hand or something growing inside of your body?
The person growing inside of the body.
Right.
For sure.
So why can't women value their personal rights, liberties, and freedoms?
Because I believe that the baby, inside of, well, I know that it is growing inside of them. The baby has it, the baby is its own person.
Well, I mean, so are all the children that are killed by guns that you think should continue to be killed by guns, even if it.
No, I don't think they should continue. I don't believe that any child, I've never even heard about kids in my town getting killed by guns. I think that's really wrong and sick.
But you
I
don't
whoever-
think that you should lose the right to own a gun, even if it meant that less children would die. So why should a woman lose her right to abortion if it meant that less children would die?
Okay,
You can't
well,
just go back
I
to saying
believe
it's because you value
if
the
it could
children and
be-
you want less to die, because that
if it
wraps
could be-
right back into my question about gun ownership.
If it could be a 100% fact that if I gave up all my guns, there would be no more kids that would die.
Not no more, just less.
give
The
up
same,
all
not,
of-
okay, not no more, just less. The same way that when we ban abortion, that doesn't mean that there's no more abortions. Illegal abortions increase significantly, which just also puts the mother's life in more harm's way. There's not no more abortions, there's just less.
Okay, well, yeah, if there was less abortions, I mean, yeah, I would get rid of all my guns if there was going to be less abortions, or
What about less children dying from gun deaths? Actually, you just gave me.
okay, so if we're gonna talk about
actually, you just gave me an even better argument. I just like clocked something that you said that I'm never gonna forget. You just said that you would give up your right to own guns if it meant there was less abortions in America. Why do you think there should be less abortions in America? Because under your view, an abortion kills a kid. But then for whatever reason, you wouldn't give up your guns if it meant there's less children dying from guns in America, even though children's dying from guns in America is children dying, children getting killed. So why do you think that a child, a baby, a fetus, is more valuable when it's inside of the uterus of a woman compared to wearing a backpack on their way to school in the morning?